right, so the last question we have on today's episode of Ask the Pastor Church Finance Edition. Now, we've mentioned this briefly on other episodes, so if you haven't gotten the full spiel, make sure you go back and listen to a little bit of our backlog. But the question is, what are some good practices for financial transparency to the congregation? And is there a point where you're sharing too much?
Well, you should never share anything to the congregation. Keep them in
Complete
the dark
secrecy.
at all. Keep them in the dark at all times. They should know nothing at all. Okay, I just got myself in hot water. So, no, I mean, I'm a big fan. Total transparency to a degree. What does that mean? We want to have transparency. We want to do things. Good practices ought to be for the church, as you see in different businesses and other things. The church should be totally transparent with their income, with their expenses, where things are going, how it's being expended. I think that's very important. But let's not get down to the minute dollar and cent. I think we can get a little crazy. Those that do bookkeeping ought to do that. But those of us who are part of the congregation, you know what? Grace abounds. And I think that's important. One of the things that I've learned when I was a pastor is I remember sitting in congregational meetings, and this was back in the day when they had transparencies and overhead projectors. I am that old. I am that old. And they would take it and they would print something up on a inkjet printer and then put it up there. And they would circle different things, but they would put all the salaries. And in my first church, there was 3 or 4 of us on staff, and I was youth pastor. They put all of our salaries right up there on the screen for everybody to see. None of us enjoyed that.
Yeah.
We totally disliked that. Now, I get that. I know that. I understand that. I'm the deacon of finance at my church. I know what all of our guys are making. I see the numbers. Well, it's part of my job in that. I am not a fan of exposing the pastor's salary or the staffing individual salaries to the congregation. Now, typically you have a couple people on staff, not always, but if you have a couple people, that whether it's a couple pastoral staff, couple support staff, whatever it may be, could be janitorial, admin, whatever, lump them together. Mm-hmm. Say, this is what we're spending on salaries. Now, I'm not saying that you don't share that information of the minute details. I am saying when you're at a congregational meeting, chunk it together. This is what we're spending on pastors. This is what we're spending on support staff. This is what we're spending for those pieces. If somebody has a question about it, I am a firm believer of transparency. You can come to the church office. We will print out or bring up on our computer screen what it is that you need to know. Sorry, we're not going to print it up and give it to you to let you walk away from. We're not going to let you take a photograph of it because we don't want this to be broadcast publicly. But what we are going to say is, yes, you can know about this. But we may even ask a few questions like, is there a reason behind it? Because some people, the church, sadly, it has people that just have an axe to grind. Let's not feed into that. And if there's a need, get deacons and elders involved to be able to just make sure that you work toward having the heart of the person doing it in a right and proper way. If it's because they feel like that they're being paid too much, let's have that conversation offline. If it's because that we sense that they're not being paid enough, let's have that conversation offline, but not in the heart of the congregation. Yeah. I don't think that's wise and healthy.
Yeah, from a pew sitter's perspective, yes, because that's where I sit. I'm a pew sitter. That's my category, is my label.
You sit in a chair, not a pew.
But it's not just about knowing what your pastor is making, because like on one hand, you might want to know, but it's not, like, at least in my mind, it's not because I'm curious about what my pastor is making. It's more about like, hey, what's the health of the church relative to like what we're paying pastors? Because like, you've heard the horror stories where churches are sinking and pastors manipulate the budget to pay themselves more, and they know they're on a sinking ship. Like, I would say most cases, that's not that's not at all what is happening.
That's a rare situation.
Exactly.
Nowadays. It's there, but it's rare.
Exactly. So I think from a pew sitter perspective, it's not wrong to want to know, and maybe that information is helpful. But I think like when the church finance committee compromises and say, you know what, like we're just going to bundle all the salaries together, so you know, relative to the overall budget, this is what we're spending on salary. In my opinion, for me, that's more than enough to know, like, all right, we're healthy, we're on track, we're doing well.
Now, I want to throw one little thing. I so appreciate what you shared, but many of us take a look and we look at the salaries and we say, okay, this is what the salaries are. I'm just going to be honest. The church we're a part of, you look at the salary package, our pastor makes more than me.
Oh, sure.
He's younger than me by much. He makes more than me. There's a caveat here. What is that? He does not have benefits.
He's paying his own benefits.
He's paying his own benefits.
Yep.
He's 100% his own benefits, except for vacation time.
Sure.
I mean, that's part of the vacation, part of the benefits of vacation
Like health
time.
insurance, retirement plan, all that's on him.
100%.
Yep.
So you need to know more than just what the numbers are saying.
Exactly.
You need to know the backstory and what all those pieces are. And I've already talked with our pastors, and we have an executive pastor at our church. I've already shared with him that down the road, I would like to be able to offload some of that and be able to have us as a church cover some of those benefit pieces so we can be a greater blessing to them because of their ministry.
For sure. I think that's great. And 1 Corinthians 4 lays it out that it's not recommended, it's required that stewards are found faithful with the resources that we've been entrusted with. So expecting that out of your church is a good thing, right? It's a biblical expectation that we're faithful with God's resources. The church isn't exempt from that. So as a pew sitter, hey, great, be curious, ask questions, right? But I think we can cross lines when we're trying to be malicious about it. And I know we've talked about this in previous episodes.
Have the right heart behind the questions,
exactly,
please.
Exactly.
Please. And the church leaders, I'm talking to you. Do not hide anything. That creates even more questions, more complications. So be transparent, be open. But here's what it comes to. Everyday financial decisions must be made with integrity.
Amen.
And if you're making everyday financial decisions with integrity, you will have nothing to hide.
Amen.
I can't say that enough and enough. So do that, be transparent, but then yet when you have congregational times, it doesn't hurt to pull it in, clump things together. So, I mean, I've never seen in a church it's going to be expose your salary to church to your church day, where everybody brings their IRS tax forms and they're showing how much they made. I mean, that's not a day that happens in the church.
That sounds like a terrible day.
But it is a day that happens in congregational meetings for the pastor. So let's be careful and honest and caring for our pastor. And I mean, if you have a solo pastor, it's going to be a different budget. Yeah. You're going to see that up there. That's part of what that is, and expect that dollar figure, as we talked about earlier. It's going to be higher because you want to give them that living wage to be able to earn.
Now, most of this question was about general financial transparency, but a lot of what we shared was around the salaries, and I think that's because, generally speaking, those two tend to be connected the most. But you can operate with the same principles based off other kinds of funding, whether it's missionary funding or
Deacons Fund. I'll use that.
Fund, program funding.
I know of a church that actually had a problem where the pastor was dipping into the Deacons Fund.
Oh boy.
And he was using it not for his own purposes, but for his own pet projects in the community.
Oh boy.
And it was not good.
Yeah.
And that's why I say integrity with finances on all levels, whether it's missions, Deacons Fund, church budget, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Integrity will always allow you to have transparency.
Amen.
But once you don't have integrity in the church finances, transparency will slowly fade, and it creates more problems and complications.